There's a thought experiment I want you to try right now. Think about the thing you wanted most 5 years ago. Really wanted, lost sleep over. Maybe it was a job, a person, a car, a body type, whatever. Got it? Now here's the question. Did getting it make you permanently happy? And if you never got it, did something else eventually take its place as the object of your obsession? Because here's what Arthur Schopenhauer figured out 200 years ago that's going to ruin your day. You're not designed to be satisfied, ever. And every corporation, every advertisement, every influencer, and every self-help guru is banking on you never figuring that out. But Schopenhauer, he saw through the lie. And once you see it too, you can't unsee it. Let me tell you about the most depressing realization in philosophy that somehow leads to the most liberating conclusion. Picture this, Frankfurt, Germany, 1820s. While other philosophers are writing dense treatises about the perfectibility of man and the march of progress, there's this one bitter, dog-loving misanthrope watching wealthy people at parties and seeing something everyone else missed. He's watching them laugh, drink, chase pleasure after pleasure, and he realizes they're not celebrating anything, they're running. Running from a truth so uncomfortable that most people will do literally anything to avoid confronting it. That philosopher was Arthur Schopenhauer, and what he saw was this. Human life is structured like a cruel joke. You want something, you suffer until you get it, you feel nothing, then you want something else. Repeat until death. He called it the pendulum swing between pain and boredom, and once you see it operating in your own life, it's like watching the strings on a puppet you didn't know was a puppet. Let's break this down because it's more sinister than it sounds. When you want something you don't have, that's obvious suffering. Your crush doesn't text back, you're scrolling their Instagram at 2 in the morning. That's pain. You need $1,500 for rent and you've got $800 in your account. That's pain. You watch someone else get the promotion you wanted. Pain, pain, pain. The unfulfilled desire is like a constant background noise of discomfort. But here's the trap. You think the solution is getting the thing. And our entire economic system is built on convincing you that you're right. Get the thing, feel better, problem solved. Except that's not what happens. You get the thing and for maybe a day, maybe a week, if you're lucky, you feel good. But Schopenhauer's insight was that what you're feeling isn't actually pleasure. It's just the absence of pain. The desire stops hurting. That's not the same as joy. That's neutral. And humans are really, really bad at neutral. Neutral feels like nothing, and nothing feels like boredom. So the pendulum swings back to the other side. Now you're not suffering from unfulfilled desire, you're suffering from emptiness. And emptiness is worse in some ways because at least when you wanted the thing, you had hope. You had a narrative. Once I get X, then I'll be happy. But now you've got X and you're still you, still in your head, still vaguely dissatisfied with existence. So what do? You find a new desire, a new goal. The cycle begins again. And here's what makes this so relevant right now, in our specific moment. We've built a civilization that's optimized the pendulum. You don't have to wait for desire fulfillment anymore. You want food? It's on your doorstep in 30 minutes. You want entertainment? Infinite scroll, infinite content, infinite distraction. You want validation? Post something and watch the numbers go up. You want a date? Swipe right. We've made desire satisfaction instant. And what's happened? Are we happier? No. We're more anxious, more depressed, more medicated than ever because the pendulum swings faster now. The cycle repeats more quickly. You satisfy a desire so fast that you barely notice the satisfaction before the boredom kicks in and you need another hit. It's the same mechanism as drug addiction, and Schopenhauer would have seen our society as one giant population of addicts desperately chasing the next dopamine spike to avoid confronting the emptiness. Look at lottery winners. This is documented. People who win millions of dollars report returning to their baseline level of happiness within months, not years, months. The person who gets their dream job discovers the dream job comes with new nightmares. The influencer with 1 million followers still feels inadequate compared to the one with 10 million. The person who finally loses the weight finds new insecurities about their body. Because the problem was never the specific thing you lacked. The problem is deeper. The problem, according to Schopenhauer, is the will itself. And this is where his philosophy gets really dark. But stay with me because this is important. When Schopenhauer talks about the will, capital W, he's not talking about willpower or your personal will to achieve things. He's talking about a fundamental force that drives all of existence. It's the blind, irrational, unconscious energy that makes plants grow towards sunlight, makes animals hunt for food, makes humans scroll through dating apps at midnight. The will is what's pulling the strings. And here's the disturbing part. The will doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about your happiness, your dreams, your suffering. It has one drive: perpetuate itself, keep life going, make sure the species continues. That's it. You think you're making free choices. You think you decided to pursue that career, date that person, buy that thing, but Schopenhauer says no. The will created the desire, made you suffer until you fulfilled it, and will immediately create a new desire to keep you in motion. You're not the author of your life. You're not even really the protagonist. You're a character the will is writing to serve its purposes, and those purposes have nothing to do with your well-being. Think about how much of your life is driven by sex and reproduction. Even if you don't want kids, even if you're actively trying not to have kids, think about how much energy goes into attraction, relationships, signaling your status to potential partners, the way you dress, the career you choose partly to seem impressive, the photos you select for your profile, the way you present yourself in social situations. Strip away all the cultural sophistication and you're watching the same mating behaviors you'd see in any other species. The will wants you to reproduce, so it makes certain people seem irresistible. It creates overwhelming desire. It convinces you this person is special, unique, the one. You fall in love, and falling in love feels like the most profound, meaningful experience of your life. And maybe you reproduce. And then what? The intensity fades, not because you chose wrong, not because your partner changed, but because the will accomplished its goal and is moving on. The species doesn't need you to stay passionately in love forever, it just needed you to reproduce. So the chemicals change, the obsession lifts, and you're left in a relationship with an actual human being instead of a projection of the will's agenda. Some people blame their partner for this. They think the spark dying means they need to find a new relationship, so they chase that feeling again, not realizing they're just running the same script with different actors. And Schopenhauer would say, congratulations, the will is playing you perfectly. It got you to reproduce once, maybe it'll get you to do it again. But it's not just reproduction. The will is behind your ambition, your competitiveness, your fear of death, your restless sense that you should be doing more, achieving more, becoming more. Every time you feel inadequate, that's the will cracking the whip. Every time you compare yourself to others, that's the will making sure you stay in the game. Every time you can't relax, can't just be satisfied with enough, that's the will driving you forward. And here's what makes this really disturbing. The will is blind. Schopenhauer emphasized this. It's not some intelligent deity with a plan. It's not benevolent. It's closer to a natural force like gravity or entropy. It just is. It wills without purpose, without wisdom, without goal beyond its own continuation. Which means your suffering isn't punishment. It's not because you did something wrong or failed to optimize your life correctly. It's the fundamental condition of being alive. You are an expression of the will, and the will, by nature, suffers. Because to want something is to lack it. Desire equals deficiency, and life is continuous desire. Look at nature honestly. The predator suffers from hunger. The prey suffers from fear. The successful organism immediately faces new competition, new threats. Life is struggle. Struggle is suffering. And there's no amount of success that exempts you from this equation. This is why Schopenhauer hated optimists, not because he enjoyed being negative, but because he thought optimism was a lie that makes suffering worse. If you believe happiness is achievable through the right combination of circumstances, you'll waste your life chasing conditions that will never bring the peace you're seeking. You'll blame yourself when you're still unsatisfied after getting everything you wanted. You'll think you're broken. You'll buy another course, read another book, try another strategy. But if you understand that dissatisfaction is baked into existence itself, everything changes. You stop taking it personally. You stop believing you failed. You stop thinking the next achievement will finally be the one.
Okay, so we're puppets of a blind cosmic force, condemned to swing between suffering and boredom until we die. Cool, great, thanks for that, Schopenhauer. But here's where it gets interesting, where the most pessimistic philosophy somehow becomes practical. Because Schopenhauer didn't just diagnose the problem, he found the exits. Temporary ones, yes, but real. The first exit is through art, and this is going to sound pretentious until you realize you already do this, you just don't think about it this way. When you're completely absorbed in music or a film or a painting or even a really good video, something strange happens. The wanting stops. For those moments, you're not thinking about your desires, your problems, your identity, you're just experiencing. Schopenhauer called this the aesthetic state. You become a will-less subject of knowing. The self, with all its wants and fears and comparisons, temporarily dissolves. You're just awareness, taking in beauty. This is why people cry at movies, why music can give you chills, why standing in front of a painting in a museum can feel weirdly profound. It's not just emotional manipulation, it's a brief escape from the will. For a few minutes, you're not a puppet. You're not serving the agenda of reproduction or survival or status. You're just consciousness, experiencing something outside the self. And it feels like relief because it is relief. But here's the thing, it's temporary. The movie ends, the song finishes, you walk out of the museum and immediately check your phone and you're back in the game. The will reasserts itself. You remember you're hungry, you're anxious, or you have emails to answer. The aesthetic experience is an escape, but not a solution. The second exit is through compassion, and this one's counterintuitive given that Schopenhauer was famously kind of a jerk as a person. But his philosophy leads to a radical conclusion. If we're all puppets of the same will, if we're all suffering the same fundamental condition, then the boundaries between us are kind of illusory. Your suffering and my suffering are both expressions of the same force. When I see you suffering, I'm seeing myself. This is the basis for real compassion, not the performative kind, not feeling sorry for people or trying to fix them to make yourself feel good, but recognizing that we're all trapped in the same mechanism. The person you envy on Instagram is on the same pendulum, just at a different point in the swing. The billionaire and the homeless person are both expressions of the will, both suffering, just in different forms. This doesn't mean their circumstances are equivalent, or that we shouldn't try to reduce suffering where we can, but it does mean that no one has escaped the game. Everyone is struggling with existence, and recognizing that can make you less judgmental, less comparative, less isolated in your own suffering. But again, compassion doesn't solve the problem. It makes life more bearable, but you're still alive, still subject to the will. So what's the real solution? Schopenhauer's answer, you have to quiet the will itself. And the most effective way to do that is through asceticism, deliberate denial of desire. Now, before you tune out thinking this means you need to become a monk, hear me out, because there's a version of this that's accessible and arguably more relevant now than ever. What if you just stopped playing the game? What if you looked at your life and identified which desires are actually yours versus which ones were installed by advertising, by social pressure, by the will using culture as its puppet strings? Do you actually want the bigger house, or did you just see someone else's house and feel inadequate? Do you actually want the promotion, or do you want the status you think comes with it? Do you actually want more followers, or have you just been conditioned to equate numbers with worth? This is where Schopenhauer gets radical. He's saying the path to peace isn't fulfilling your desires more efficiently, it's wanting less. Deliberately cultivating indifference to the things the will wants you to chase. And yes, this includes the big one, sex and relationships. Schopenhauer thought the sex drive was the will's most powerful tool. It makes you do insane things, compromise your values, tolerate bad treatment, obsess over people who don't care about you, all to serve reproduction. And he argued that freedom comes from seeing through it. Not necessarily becoming celibate, though he respected that choice, but at least recognizing when you're being manipulated by biology and choosing whether to play along. In practical terms, this might look like minimalism, not the aesthetic Instagram version with expensive plain furniture, but actual reduction of needs. Fewer possessions means fewer things to maintain, fewer things to want upgrades for, fewer things to compare with others. It might look like choosing a less prestigious career that gives you more time and less stress, opting out of the status competition entirely. It might look like staying single instead of forcing relationships because society says you should couple up, or staying in relationships for real connection rather than fear of being alone or biological imperative. The point is, every desire you eliminate is one less string the will can pull, one less source of suffering, one less point on the pendulum's swing. Here's where Schopenhauer's philosophy becomes almost spiritual, though he'd hate that word. He's essentially describing what Buddhists call nirvana, what mystics call ego death, what every wisdom tradition has pointed toward, the cessation of wanting, the end of the self. But Schopenhauer gets there through ruthless German logic instead of meditation or faith. He says, look, you think you're an individual self, separate from others, with unique wants and needs. But that self is just a manifestation of the will. It's the puppet. The real you, if there is such a thing, is the awareness that can observe the puppet. When you watch your own thoughts, your own desires, and recognize them as the will operating through you, something shifts. You're no longer completely identified with them. There's space. That space is freedom. And in that space, you can choose. Not perfectly, not permanently. The will is strong and you're still alive, but you can have moments of genuine autonomy, moments where you see a desire arise and you don't automatically chase it. You watch it like watching a wave and let it pass. This is why Schopenhauer respected practices like meditation, fasting, and voluntary poverty, not because suffering is noble, but because these practices train you to sit with discomfort without immediately trying to fix it. They show you that you can survive the pendulum swing without frantically searching for the next satisfaction. Modern life is designed to prevent this realization. We're drowning in convenience, in instant gratification, in constant stimulation. You can't sit with discomfort for 5 seconds before your phone offers you an escape. Bored? Here's infinite entertainment. Lonely? Here's social media. Anxious? Here's something to buy. Every corporation profits from you never confronting the emptiness. Because if you actually sat with it, actually looked at it directly, you might realize you don't need what they're selling. You might realize you don't need much at all. This is deeply threatening to the entire structure of consumer capitalism. An economy based on infinite growth requires infinite desire. It needs you to always want more, always feel inadequate, always believe the next product will make the difference. Schopenhauer is telling you it won't. Nothing will. And that's okay. So what's the practical takeaway here? How do you actually live with this? First, stop believing in permanent happiness. It doesn't exist. Anyone selling it to you is lying or deluded. The best you can hope for is moments of peace, interrupted by suffering, interrupted by brief pleasures, back to peace. That's the deal. Accept it. Second, be ruthlessly honest about your desires. Ask yourself, is this actually me, or is this the will? Is this something I genuinely want, or something I was taught to want? Would I still want this if no one ever knew I had it? That last question is key because it reveals how much of your desire is about status, about comparison, about the social performance of having achieved something. Third, practice wanting less, deliberately, not as deprivation, but as liberation. Every desire you release is leverage you take back from the world. You become harder to manipulate. Advertisements stop working on you. Social pressure loses its grip. You can walk past a store without needing to go in. You can see someone's vacation photos without feeling inadequate. This is power, real power. Not the kind where you dominate others, but the kind where nothing external controls you. Fourth, when you do want things, want them cleanly. If you're going to desire something, do it consciously. Enjoy the wanting, enjoy the pursuit, and if you get it, enjoy it without immediately searching for the next thing. Milk the satisfaction for everything it's worth. Schopenhauer would say this is still being a slave to the will, and he's right, but if you're going to be in the game anyway, at least play it with awareness. Fifth, find your aesthetic escapes and use them. Whatever gives you that will-less state of absorption. Music, art, nature, long walks, deep conversation. Protect that time. It's not frivolous, it's not self-indulgent, it's medicine. It's the brief respite from being a puppet. And finally, be compassionate to yourself and others. Everyone you meet is struggling with this same condition. The person who cut you off in traffic is suffering. The politician you hate is suffering. Your ex is suffering. Your boss is suffering. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it contextualizes it. We're all puppets cutting each other's strings, and the only sane response is kindness. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is depressing. This is nihilistic. Why even bother if it's all meaningless suffering? But that's not what Schopenhauer is saying. He's not saying life is meaningless. He's saying the meanings we typically assign to life, the goals we chase, the achievements we think will make us happy, those are illusions. The real meaning, if you want to call it that, is in the moments you escape the will, the moments you're free. Those moments are rare and brief, but they're real. And knowing how rare they are makes them more precious, not less. The alternative is what most people do, spend their entire lives chasing satisfactions that never satisfy, wondering why they're still unhappy despite checking every box, dying with a vague sense of having missed the point. Schopenhauer offers a different path. It's not easy, it's not optimistic, but it's honest. And in a world drowning in false promises and manufactured desires, honesty might be the most valuable thing available. So the next time you feel that familiar wanting, that sense that you need something to be okay, pause, watch it, recognize it for what it is, the will, doing what it does, pulling the strings, and then decide whether you're going to dance. Sometimes you will, you're human, but sometimes you won't. And in those moments, you'll taste what Schopenhauer promised, not happiness, but something better, freedom.